Right, well, welcome back to part 3, and in this part we're just going to have a look at tactics really, and like you said in the last part, Lowell, you tend to be sort of known for the meat method, but obviously that's not the only way you barbel fish. So I thought we'd have a look at, you know, how you fish and the baits and tactics you use sort of through the year really on you know, different conditions.
I think it's. I always judge my approach to where I'm going fishing rather than the seasonal approach. You know, whether a water's heavily fished. I quite like heavily fished waters.
Right. Yeah.
It's when I fish those heavily fished waters is the important thing, because big barbel do have this ability to remain uncaught for quite some time. I mean, not far from where we are now, only, you know, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I and 1 or 2 mates decided to concentrate on probably the most busiest stretch of the river around here, the Middle Severn, because whilst you know, we'd heard of the odd fish, bigger fish, doubles coming off, I was convinced it could do better. But the barbel that were just avoiding capture by being selective on how they fed and so on and so forth. So we all decided, and there was 4 of us, we all decided that we were going to fish it as a team, if you like, rotate it, fish a couple of swims. We would be totally honest with each other, no secrets and nothing like that, and we'd all fish the same, and that was with the big pieces of meat, quarter a tin of spam and, you know, and the like. And, you know, I suppose really we took the place apart from an area that, you know, used to produce the odd double, because we targeted them, relatively short sessions over a relatively short period. We had something like 17 doubles between us. I had the biggest at 13.10, and which had never been heard of before. You know, a fish of that magnitude coming from there, and also we'd had numerous 10s and 11s as well within that, and good backup fish as well. So I always look at the place rather than the conditions. What do I alter on conditions? The obvious with regard to the weight that you've got to use to hold bottom. The critical thing for me, if you're fishing a low river like it is now, or to a high river, is the length of the trace.
Right.
Now, for instance, if I was fishing, I mean, I know people will laugh at centre pins, but it's just what I like. This setup that I've got today, again, I'll reiterate, we're not fishing today, is a 175 test gird rod, which is powerful enough for I see it as for what I want to do. As you can see, it's got quite a long braided
so let
hook
me just
length.
bring that round because we'll get it on camera. So we're about 3 foot there, about a metre of braid.
Now, what I would alter if the river was 10 foot on would be the length of that. I would shorten it, probably shorten it to maybe 18 to 24 inches. This rig that I've got at the moment is like for a big meat rig, size 2 hook. You know, I'll show you shortly the size of the bait that I would use. Would I use it in daytime like today now? No. But what I would do, I would set up for tonight and fish into darkness of when those barbel that are holding up under places, you know, like the trees down below and here, that would come out and start looking actively for potential leftovers. Or a meal that would just suit them, and so that they don't have to look for any more food, which is a big piece of meat. I use 12-pound line. It's important that, you know, the barbel can run with a big piece of meat. They've got to get it in the mouth. They can get it in the mouth. I don't hair rig it. I just straight on the hook. I like to think that if the bait's in the mouth, so is the hook. So it's a case really of allowing the fish to run off. Generally, you know, I might get an indication of, and that's enough for me to go, right, what's going on here? And then you know, once that barbel commits to take the bait and takes it. I remember talking with Trev West, and Trev West said, "The thing is, Lol, you know, there's no sucking in and blowing out bait here. Once they've committed, that's it. And then they'll swim off a turn, and you know, you strike, and they generally hook nicely in the scissors. A lot of people make a mistake when they're fishing for big fish, especially barbel, by using as light a lead as they can get away with. I don't. I don't want the lead to move. I want the line, you know, to pull through the lead. So the lead's there, whatever it may be. So minimum 2 ounces, even in these conditions. Or I could decide to use 3 or 4 because I want the line to pull through. Anything lighter means that the lead lifts off the bottom. So I want the line to pull through. Now, as you can see here, I've got a bead on the top of the run link, and you might, well, what's that for? It's not for a bolt rig or anything like that. One of the biggest problems that you have when fishing big pieces of meat is that the meat can weigh more than the lead. So what happens is, especially with an underarm cast, whether it's with a fixed spool or a centre pin, is that the lead tends to stay put in mid-air, and the line then runs through with the bait. The bait runs through. So you end up potentially with the lead right up there and the line down here.
Exactly the same effect if you're using a big PVA bag.
That's right.
Again, you've got the sort of the fulcrum effect of the two weights.
Exactly. They work against each other.
Exactly,
But I've solved a problem how to get over that, and it's a great solution to that problem. It means you haven't got a real, you know, you know, the bait through the lead, and then you've moved everything, and it's not where you want it to be. So as what I do, if I can, am I okay to show you? And this is the method. This is foolproof. It's perfect. As you can see, I use one of these nuggets of of the foam, dissolving foam. I'll keep that bit for later, and I'll show you why. But as far as what I've just discussed with you, this is what I do. I put that like that. I put that round there like that.
Couple of turns,
that's all. Dip that.
Lick it and stick it. Gotcha.
No more flying through.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfect. And within less than a minute, that's gone. So it solves the problem, and it solves the problem not just for barbel fishermen. It solves the problem for other methods.
I know what you're going to do with the second bit. Go on, carry on.
Well, what I would do with that is that when I'm using big pieces of meat, if I can, you don't mind me bringing the big meat into the thing at the moment, is that, you know, I'm talking about pieces of meat like that. I find there's a lot of advantages for that. Smaller fish will pass it by. Barbel aren't the type of species that will, have I found anyway, that will break that up. They'll have a look at it, they'll have a little nose around, but they'll disregard it for something smaller. But what I do like to attract smaller fish towards it. So I will, you know, rag the bait up, as it were. But I'm convinced, and again, I'm probably, you know, people are going to say, oh my God, he's repeating himself a little bit here. But I've actually seen a barbel on the team a few years ago take a piece of meat like that without even thinking about it. The one thing that attracted that barbel, because I watched it, was the amount of minnows that try to have a go at that.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we?
Yeah, and you know, the minnows really had a good go at it, and it was like Medusa's head of all these minnows, and all of a sudden, this big barbel, 13 plus, comes in. He just swam over it, and that was gone. The minnows, you know, disappeared, obviously. But what was left was that, but that was there for about 10 seconds until this big old fish came out and just sucked it straight in. Now, how do we hook it on? As I said, I don't do hair rigs. What I go for is a simple method of using a baiting needle. Such as that. baiting needles are. And then what I do, push the baiting needle through, hook the baiting needle onto the hook, put it straight the way through, like so, and then turn it. But I don't pull it all the way back in.
Right.
And if you remember,
Yeah.
were you right or
I
wrong?
was right, honestly.
And what I do, no bits of grass, no bits of twig,
spot on. Yeah.
no bits of spaghetti.
You know what? That's two things I've learned today.
What's that? Oh, that, yeah. Now that, and again, that coupled with our little bit there, within minutes it's gone.
Spot on.
And I'm telling you that will pull straight through.
Yeah.
You haven't got to worry about grass. You can't beat stuff that disappears in the water. And then really it's just about presenting it into a particular area that you want. But ultimately it's the same principle as whether you were using, you know, boilies.
Yeah.
I mean, I love boilie wraps.
Yeah. Do you use paste much at all?
Oh yeah, I do, yeah. In fact, again, if I can show you. Oh. I mean, I generally buy, you know, shop bought pastes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a consultant or anything like that for dynamite baits, but I do what I like. I don't like hard wraps. I like wraps that will break down, and you know, and I like to bring a bait in and the wrap's gone, but the boilies are still there. Yeah. Because the other thing that I do.
I mean, so sorry to interrupt you, mate, but I find I mean, I've done tests with two rods and moving the rods around. Yeah. One with wraps, one without, just with boilies on. Yeah. Catch twice as many fish on it, one with a wrap.
Yeah, really.
Honestly,
well, I've never done that.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to know.
I write about it all the time, and I never see anyone doing it.
Really?
And it's like, one thing, give it a go.
Yeah.
Give it a go, guys, you know.
I love it. I mean, there are lots of wraps you can. Listen, somebody said to me, "Trouble is they're expensive." I said, well, use sausage paste. Yeah. Get some sausage paste and breadcrumbs. Yeah. It's a wrap.
That's it.
It don't have to be a barbel wrap. It's something that's like the method.
Exactly.
But I don't want it too hard, where I reel in and it's still there. With a nice powdered, fine powdered, like a boilie mix. I like boilie mixes. You know, you can buy them that match the boilie that you know, such as Robin Red or something like that. And the other thing that I don't just leave it at that. Again, with regard to the wrap, I enhance the wrap. That once it's on the hook, we'll say, what I will do is get, say, some 6mm pellets, and once it's on the hook, but not on the hook, on the hair, I actually put you know, pellets, pellets around like that. Yeah. So it's not only just breaking off and dissolving. Yeah, it's releasing as well, bits of food. Yeah. And what I like to do is not only consider what's happening around my hook, it's below and downstream. So my thought process with that is that the actual paste will break down fairly quickly, but will release some kind of flavour vapor trail downstream. But the little pellets will drop off and not go quite so far down. They're getting nearer and nearer to your hook bait. So there's this natural drawing up.
Scent trail. I always think of it a bit like sharks. And you see when they're rubby-dubby in the shark, and you see the fins. Yeah. And they gradually work up to it. That's right. And what's there is the cherry on the cake.
That's it. Well, as I say, the idea is that where are we? We've got them. Just looking to see whether I've got my. No, I haven't got it here. But yeah, it's a case really of that, and because once that's gone as well, and this is another thing that I do. I don't just get boilies out the bag, and put them on the hook, as it were. I really soak them. Now that is a corresponding boilie to the paste that I'm using. Right. Yeah. Now I've really soaked those for weeks and weeks and weeks, and when I think they're dried out, I even put some more in.
So that's with boilie dip or something.
Boilie
like
dip,
that.
yeah. Well, you could. I mean, they're so sophisticated now. I mean, these bait companies that you can buy rehydration fluid and stuff. And the idea is that once the the wrap has dissolved, and once the wrap is gone, there is a second explosion, because
Right.
remember, you've masked that up
Yeah.
with the wrap.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, it can't be seen.
Mm.
But as that breaks down, and the fish have already been attracted by the paste wrap, by the pellets coming off the paste wrap,
Yeah.
it's gone, and all of a sudden, bang!
Right. Yeah.
You get that explosion of
Yeah.
taste because you've dipped those. I don't put dipped baits in as freebies. I would use just straight from the bag, because again, by using dipped baits on the hook with the wrap, with the pellets, it makes them slightly different to the ones that you put in as freebies.
Fantastic.
So it's again, it's not allowing the fish to formulate a picture of what something should be like, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a great believer in having a mixture of freebies. So instead of like putting one type of boilie in there, one type of bait, one type of hook bite that matches the ones that you're putting in. Now, the barbel, a big barbel, could soon distinguish between something that's slightly different to something else. I liken it to when you were a kid and you're throwing maggots in, and you throw a handful of maggots in, you cast your float and size 16 up, and every maggot would go except your one. Now that had only got a 16 up, but those little fish soon learned of what was different. They never touched your maggot. What could you do? And I think the same. So whatever I bait up, I bait up with what I would call an eclectic mix of baits, different densities, different flavours. So those barbel cannot think your hook bait is a little bit different to the rest. It's the rest that is different to your hook bait, you know? So that's just my intense way of thinking.
Fantastic. Nice one. Well, we're going to take another break and come back in part 4 where we're cracking on, where I think we're going to talk a bit about the team. And
Okay.
fishing
Oh,
on
that's
there.
good. Yeah.
So
River
thanks
close
for
to my
watching,
heart.
and we'll see you again soon.